Last year, something wild happened in the music world. Drake, one of the biggest names in hip-hop, went head-to-head with Universal Music Group. Why? Because he was convinced that Kendrick Lamar's track, Not Like Us, was not just a hit, but an artificially inflated one.
Drake filed a lawsuit for defamation against Universal Music Group. For all 20 pages, is listing out every single harmful thing that has happened to him since Not Like Us has dropped.
Drake took his beef beyond social media and straight to the courtroom. He accused Universal and Spotify of using bots, secret deals, and even shady behind-the-scenes tactics to push Kendrick's song to the top of the charts. Imagine that, Drake using his company, Frozen Moments LLC, to accuse his own label of being part of an illegal operation to prop up Kendrick's track. It sounds like something straight out of a conspiracy theory, right? His legal team claimed that UMG didn't just sit back and let the track do its thing. No, they alleged that the label launched a full-on campaign, manipulating streaming services and the airwaves to get Not Like Us to #1. And it didn't stop there. Drake's lawyers even said that they had evidence of shady payments, including a $2,500 payout to people who streamed the track on repeat, turning it into a manufactured smash. But here's the kicker: Universal didn't back down. They fired back, calling the accusations totally baseless, insisting that the song's success was all about fans choosing what they wanted to hear. But there's more to this than just a battle of egos. This lawsuit wasn't just about Kendrick's song. It was about the bigger question: how much control does the music industry really have over what we listen to? Was Drake really up against an unfair system? Or was he just trying to rewrite the narrative of a rap battle that he ultimately lost?
Embarrassing!
Drake and Kendrick Lamar's rivalry has been one of the most talked about in hip-hop. From the moment Kendrick dropped his iconic track, Control, calling out the biggest names in the game, the tension between these two artists was undeniable. But it wasn't just about bars. It was about the cultural power that each rapper held in the industry. Drake, with his global influence and commercial success. Kendrick, on the other hand, had been steadily building a reputation for his lyrical depth and authenticity. The tension between them reached its peak with Kendrick's release of Not Like Us. While fans were excited, it was clear that this was more than just a song. It was a direct jab at Drake. Kendrick's lyrics were filled with pointed lines, making it obvious that he had Drake in his crosshairs. But this time, it wasn't just the words that stung. It was the success that came with it. Not Like Us went viral in a way that no one expected, quickly becoming one of the biggest hits of the year. And that's where the real drama begins. Was Kendrick's track genuinely that good? Or was something else at play? But before we get into the legal drama, let's break down exactly what Drake was accusing Universal of, and why it mattered so much to him. As Not Like Us skyrocketed to success, Drake's confidence in his own position started to waver. He wasn't just watching Kendrick's success, he was watching the numbers too. The song hit 96 million streams in just 7 days, a number that immediately raised eyebrows. And then the rumor started swirling. Was the song's rise to the top truly organic, or was it being artificially pushed? In his legal filing, Drake's team dropped bombshell accusations. They alleged that Universal Music Group and Spotify were using bots and other secret methods to manipulate the charts. According to his lawyers, Universal slashed royalty rates by 30%, which made Spotify's algorithm favor Not Like Us even more. They claimed that this manipulation wasn't just a small thing. It was a full-blown campaign to make Kendrick's song the undeniable hit of the year. But what really made Drake's case stand out was the claim that bots were paid to stream the song non-stop. A source supposedly confirmed that $2,500 was paid to individuals who flooded streaming platforms with fake plays, pushing the track higher on the charts. This wasn't just about charts, it was about integrity, about what's real and what's manufactured in the music industry. But the bigger question became, how would the public react to these allegations, especially when Drake took this battle to the courts?
What's really interesting about Drake's claim is that if you watch the Academics interview, Academics questions the veracity, the truth of this guy saying, hey bro, are you sure? Like, somebody promised you points for bot streams? There's producers and engineers and people who feature on songs who don't get a % of the song, and somebody promised you? Academics questioned this guy's story. Anyway, Drake's lawyers saw it fit for a filing in a New York state court, and they say, look, this is some evidence of the bots.
Drake's accusations didn't stay in the courtroom for long. Almost immediately, the public jumped in with their opinions. For many, this wasn't just a legal battle, it was a spectacle. Was Drake genuinely fighting for justice? Or was he coming across as a sore loser who couldn't accept Kendrick's victory? The narrative quickly shifted. Fans and critics alike began questioning why Drake, who had been at the top of the rap game for so long, was now taking legal action over a song. For many, it looked like Drake was trying to rewrite a loss in the court of public opinion. This wasn't about defending himself from unfair tactics. It seemed more like a way to save face after being outdone musically. Some even started to accuse Drake of being petty. How could someone who had dominated the charts for years now be fighting a legal battle to challenge the success of a track that, in many ways, defined the cultural moment? To many, this lawsuit seemed like a desperate attempt to control the narrative and delegitimize Kendrick's rise. And the timing? It couldn't have been worse. Just as Drake was making his legal moves, Kendrick dropped his surprise album, GNX, which many saw as a direct continuation of his lyrical war with Drake. But while the public scrutinized Drake's every move, Universal wasn't standing idly by. They had a response of their own. Universal Music Group wasn't about to let Drake's accusations slide. The label fired back quickly, calling his claims not only false, but deeply offensive. They stood firm, stating that the success of Not Like Us was purely the result of fans choosing to engage with the song. There were no bots, no secret deals, just a track that resonated with listeners. In fact, Universal made a bold statement. The idea that they were manipulating streams was absurd. They pointed to the global success of Kendrick's previous albums and argued that Not Like Us was simply another step in his musical journey, one that had been earned through years of authentic work, not a shady marketing scheme. For Universal, this was about defending the integrity of their operations. They were adamant that their business model was built on artist support and fan-driven success. After all, they had no incentive to falsify streams. The label's argument was simple. Fans had chosen Not Like Us, and that was all there was to it. But Drake wasn't done. In fact, he took things even further, escalating the situation to an official lawsuit that would play out in court, setting the stage for even more drama. However, as things began to spiral, the conversation shifted. Now, the focus wasn't just on the song, but on the very system that runs the music industry. At the heart of the debate was something bigger than just Kendrick's track or Drake's accusations. It was about the power that streaming services and the industry hold over music. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube have revolutionized the way music is consumed, but they've also created an ecosystem where the line between marketing and manipulation is often blurred. In Drake's eyes, this wasn't just a battle over one song. It was a reflection of a system that could be rigged. Streaming platforms, with their algorithm-driven playlists and recommended tracks, have enormous control over which songs become hits. For example, when an artist gets placed on a major playlist, it can instantly boost their streams, making their song appear more popular than it might have been otherwise. Drake was no stranger to this system. He himself had benefited from these same mechanisms throughout his career. But in this case, he believed Kendrick's song was being pushed even harder, going beyond the usual promotional tactics. The question became, was this simply clever marketing, or was it an artificial effort to manufacture success for one artist at the expense of another? It's a delicate dance in the music industry. While artists rely on labels and streaming platforms for exposure, the question remains, how far can the industry go in manipulating the game before it crosses the line into something more sinister? As the debate over industry manipulation raged on, Drake took his fight to a new level, officially filing a defamation lawsuit. But how would the courts handle this battle? As the public debate continued to swirl around Drake's accusations, he made his next big move, filing a defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group. This wasn't just about the charts anymore, it was about protecting his reputation and setting the record straight. According to Drake, the damage caused by the accusations in Kendrick's song was far-reaching, and he wasn't going to let it slide. In his lawsuit, Drake argued that Kendrick's lyrics, specifically the lines calling him a son of a and implying shady business practices, were defamatory. He claimed that these words, even though they were part of a rap battle, had harmed his public image and tarnished his career. But the real kicker was that he believed Universal had played a direct role in orchestrating this smear campaign. Drake contended that by pushing Kendrick's song so aggressively, they had not only influenced the charts, but also fueled the public's negative perception of him. However, this legal battle took a twist when it reached the courts. The judge overseeing the case had a very different take. Instead of viewing Kendrick's lyrics as harmful accusations, she ruled that they were part of a heated rap battle, a war of words, not to be taken literally. Essentially, she argued that anyone listening to the songs would recognize them as lyrical expression, not factual statements. With the judge's ruling on the defamation case, things were looking bleak for Drake. But there was more at play in this legal drama, and it wasn't just about Kendrick's lyrics anymore. The ruling from Judge Jeanette Vargas couldn't have been more significant. In her 38-page decision, she dismissed Drake's defamation lawsuit, essentially saying that Kendrick's lyrics weren't actionable as defamation. The judge made it clear that the words were part of an ongoing rap feud, not meant to be taken as literal truth. She even referenced Drake's own lyrics, where he used an AI-generated Tupac voice to throw his own shots at Kendrick. This wasn't just about one line. It was about a bigger culture of trash-talking and exaggerated claims in rap. The judge's reasoning was rooted in context. She argued that these two artists were engaged in a highly publicized, competitive back and forth, and anyone listening to the tracks would understand that these accusations were part of that heated exchange. In her eyes, this wasn't a case of harmful libel. It was part of the creative and often exaggerated world of rap battles. For Universal, this was a win. They had consistently denied any wrongdoing. And now, the court had backed their stance. They issued a statement calling the lawsuit an affront to creative expression and a distraction from the real work they were doing with artists. They were pleased with the outcome and made it clear that they were moving forward with Drake, despite the legal clash. But for Drake, this wasn't the end. Despite the setback, his legal team hinted at an appeal, signaling that the battle for narrative control wasn't over yet. With the court ruling in Universal's favor, many wondered, what's next for Drake? How would this impact his public image, and could he ever truly regain control over this narrative? Even after the court dismissed his defamation lawsuit, Drake wasn't backing down. In typical Drake fashion, he made it clear that this fight wasn't over. His legal team hinted at an appeal, signaling that he wasn't willing to accept the ruling as final. It wasn't just about winning the case. It was about controlling the narrative, especially in the eyes of the public. Drake had always been an artist who played the long game, and this battle was no different. While many saw the lawsuit as an attempt to rewrite a loss, Drake seemed to view it as a fight for his legacy. The music industry, with its powerful machines, might have been against him, but Drake was determined to expose it. He wanted to make sure people understood that this wasn't just about a rap feud. It was about how the system could be manipulated to favor one artist over another. In Drake's mind, Kendrick's success wasn't simply due to his talent. It was part of a much larger, orchestrated campaign. But even as Drake continued to push forward, the public's perception of him was shifting. What began as a legal battle to defend his reputation had slowly morphed into a narrative of desperation, of someone unable to let go of a loss. His actions started to look less like a pursuit of justice and more like an attempt to reclaim a narrative that had already been decided by the music itself. So, with the case now dismissed and Drake's image on the line, what does this legal saga really say about his role in the industry? Has he lost control of the narrative, or is he just trying to rewrite it for the future? In the end, it seems Drake's battle wasn't just against Kendrick, but against the system itself. While the legal fight may be over, the questions it raised about the music industry will linger. Did Drake fail to let go of a loss, or was he simply trying to protect his legacy? I want to know what you think. Drop a comment below and let me know if you think Drake was justified or just being a sore loser. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more stories like this. I'll catch you in the next one.